Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2, with the #1 Zerg player from North America, fittingly in the red. We have Scarlett, facing off against one of the most unpredictable players to ever play the game, in the blue. It's SOS, in a best-of-3 Protoss versus Zerg All-Stars rematch to the 2018 IEM Finals, which gave Scarlett an Olympic championship. But before we get started, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button, or maybe even subscribe. And we kind of the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? 1,785 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better than the very first probe, as it was unable to block the original hatchery, and it didn't even steal away those 5 minerals that probes so often do, and will be chased across the map by the Zerglings, who are only marginally faster until they get that speed upgrade. Both SOS and Scarlett, well known historically and presently for some of the most creative strategies. You remember when Scarlett used that Baneling mine against Bomber Grandpa 12 years ago? And more, somewhat more recently, the IEM Finals, where Scarlett repeatedly used, to the point of getting it nerfed, the early game Dropper Lords. Before, it required an evolution chamber. Now it requires a lair to get Dropper Lords. And that happened only a few months after Scarlett won that championship. So, not as much of a threat today. But this Overlord feeling very threatened, as it's going to be a Void Ray to start things off and make sure that, well, oh. Okay, all right. Well, clearly the Overlord going to scout it one way or another, and then it won't be scouting anything at all. SOS builds a Void Ray and a third base. And will we get away with it? I think it's very likely. Just a single Adept. So, and 2 more gases at 345. And an, okay, well, he's not really bearing the lead with this one. Another Stargate. So, 2 Stargates, 3 Nexi, 1 Adept in the wall. And 1 wall that Hero would be acknowledging of. Okay, well, the hardest part is scouting. And unfortunately, when your opponent has a Void Ray first, scouting with Overlords became a lot more difficult. Now, the lack of anything coming across the map, the Oracle, as the prophecy foretold, comes in, takes some hull damage, maybe kills a drone or 2. If somehow Scarlett scouts a second Void Ray, obviously that would be quite a tell. And by the way, it is a second Void Ray. That's worth mentioning. There's no fleet. It's just Void Rays. Are you allowed to do that? When SOS does it, it's not illegal. Which has been a history of pretty much his entire career. From proxy gating in Game 7 of a winner-take-all $100,000 finals, to winning the World Championship, to, more notably, losing to Scarlett, but still. Just hero before hero was. And to this day, and still playing professionally, though to a very mixed bag of success. Well, it's going to be 2 Void Rays. The 4th base just started, so the Void Ray is more than likely going to be able to burn it out. The Adept's not fighting much damage, but Void Rays, does he light him up? Does he need to? The Queen's nowhere to be seen. No way they're going to get it done and cancel immediately. So we've had first Void Ray. We even had second Void Ray. But have we had 3rd and 4th Void Ray? Now this has gone from a kerfuffle to a quandary. And he's not even hiding it. The Zerglings are going to come across the map. There's 2 more Void Rays. Now, it doesn't take a mathematical genius to realize that you really can't build that off 1 Stargate, and even if you did, that's such a ridiculous commitment. So, Scarlett is already going for Hydralisks, which means she'll have a very direct counter to this exact army. But Hydras are not, they only really cosplay an anti-air unit. Void Rays are kind of the exception, as Void Rays can't outrange Hydras and don't have enough HP to really easily deal with a critical mass. So, the 4 Void Ray hit squad, with just a couple back at home to defend, and now mass charge lots with +1 is the fight. Brenda, are you okay? Oh. Yikes. I know. Susan, be quiet. Protoss vision is based on movement. That's not true. See what happened with that stasis? Sorry, I blacked out for 4 queens versus 4 void rays. But Hydra's rallying out, and already the void rays a little, at least the shield stripped away, and SOS looking the other way. The void rays take their sweet time turning around and going the other direction as they aren't nearly as agile, and the queens will knock another one out of the sky. 2 void rays, the price for getting that base. But again, able to delay Scarlett's economy and potentially delay the counterattack, though not by much. And losing 2 void rays, it just build 2 more. There must always be somewhere between 3 and 7 void rays. I was gonna, yeah, there's no set number. It's kind of whatever the vibes are feeling today. But Mass Hydra, Zergling, +1 ranged attack, and Hydra speed is already done. So Scarlett just gonna try to batter down the door, get into the base, and take down everything. And I think there's a very good chance she can do so. It's 5, but that's it. Well, some zealots are warping in. Now charge lots +1, very helpful. Oracle coming back to defend. The zealots dying dramatically, but the Hydralisk count is still too damn high. How many gates? Gonna be 5 going on 7. Again, we're just gonna roll a D8 on to figure it out. But a charge lock counter does a lot to undercut the momentum. Gonna go through the rocks down the center. Another queen will be assassinated. And Scarlett, just when it looked like she was on the precipice of victory, SOS will make sure she strays from the edge at least a little bit longer. And just more Void Rays. Just keep building Void Rays. This isn't 4v4 in the Gold League. This is one of the most high-profile matches of this year of StarCraft 2. Between 2 of the best players. But SOS does as he wants, and he wants more Void Rays. Storm is on the way. He didn't even get upgrades, and now he doesn't even have a Cyber Core. Did he rebuild it? No! But who needs Stalkers or Sentries or Adepts when you could be building actually good? Oh no, the stasis! Oh no! Stop right there, criminal scum! Is what the Protoss thought very loudly when that stasis went off. Another half-dozen drones dead. Some roaches added in to help buffer for the charge lots. Already had some for the Ravagers. But trying to... Now the awkward position of how many units are in stasis is a factor here. They'll come out of it. There's no splash damage, but the charge lots are on top of the situation. And the Hydras, divided and so far being conquered quite easily. The charge lots are very good at dealing with smaller groups of units. And now Storm is nearly complete. And Scarlett's window for potentially getting damage done is closing rapidly. The Warp Prism is in the main base. More drones going to be targeted down. Scarlett again waiting. But SOS. Unfortunately. Well, there's a drone here. Things are kind of going sideways. As SOS almost kills his own Templar, they bathe in the storm. Scarlett has 81 drones, a hive on the way. More Hydras in production. But somehow the Void Rays have been enough to hold, and Storm will be enough to push back. SOS just now taking a 4th base, significantly delayed from the 3rd. But Scarlett has killed a grand total of 2 probes, which has not cut into the economy very much, quite obviously. So, Lurker Den on the way. SOS has stopped at that fateful number of 3 to 7 Void Rays. It's 5 right now. He's lost 4 of them throughout the game. 9 for the Kingdoms of Void. The Legacy, if you would. This army is... I guess technically it's an army. That is the most power packed into the smallest package, which I'm sure many of you can empathize with. And so, just 4 the Warp Prism can bring in some reinforcements, and the army supply is actually in favor of the Protoss. The Storms can ward away from the front line, but there's not too much to exploit the distance. Charge lots sneaking into the 4th base. Stop position drones. Well done by Scarlett to delay. But the Archons are boxing out with incredible amounts of power. Some might even say overwhelming. But the Immortals helping to blast. Charge lots boxing. Again, they'll eat the storms as well, metaphorically, of course. The roaches and hydras are just evaporating. The storms are excruciating. And Zerg units just don't have the HP to weather them. SOS relatively calmly dismantles the base. The charge lots find some more drones, but it's a disaster for Scarlett. It's like trying to get out of the way of a freight train, except your entire base is on the tracks. Immortals, Void... what is with me today? Void Rays and Hot Templar. Void Rays. Whittle, Void Ray. No, Jimmy. Lots of editing. No, I don't pay you for that. I don't pay you at all. No. Scarlett's just down 20 supply. She's continually rebuilt, lost 30 drones, but never was able to capitalize with the army supply advantage. Eventually, once the storms came out, Scarlett didn't have the lurkers in position. I'm treating it like it's over and done with, and we're certainly not there yet. But it's closing rapidly. It's just the platonic ideal of Protoss. 5 Immortals, 4 Archons, 15 Charge Lots, and 5 Void Rays, because who doesn't love Void Rays? SOS, the last time he was a top-level professional was before the Void Ray was nerfed. And by God, he's going to continue building them. A mothership is halfway done. Scarlett finally finished Lurker range, so maybe can stall this out. And has had the economy throughout to potentially overwhelm in the late game. But SOS just continues meandering around the map with an army that must be respected, despite its diminutive size. The charge lots from the right flank with +3 attack. Scarlett lunges down, but is caught in the pincer between the charge lots and the Archons themselves. Is there any detection? A single observer. And it's not going to be sniped off. The Overseer goes down. And there's still the Void Race! What? There you go! The Void Race once again coming to the forefront as a valuable unit. As they've been here 19 kills, 16 kills, 2 Gs, SOS. Off the back of the strobe light Protoss. Void Rays burning through, storms flashing across the field, the Immortals blasting, and the charge lot sprinting. Scarlett fell prey to exactly what every Zerg does. And it's the most honest and most common mistake, not just by Scarlett, but by every single Zerg we've seen in the last few months. 1, not respecting the storm, or maybe respecting it too much. We're not sure which one it is yet. But Storm now lasts 50% longer, though does somewhat less DPS, like 25%. Which means the amount of time you can zone out of the base. Protoss have finally realized that you don't need sentries to force field. The Templar, they might not be as deadly, but in other ways, they very much are. So SOS with a dominant performance in Game 1, but it was tenuous at times. And Game number 2, Old Republic. As Scarlett unable to find a late-game footing before SOS's storm swept her away. I really think the turning point was the stasis. Getting 2/3 of the army caught at the exact moment Scarlett had the maximum army supply. That's always been SOS's forte. Alright, like I said, hero before hero. But SOS, completely. Hero might just be the Forrest Gumpian Protoss. Whereas SOS is in chaotic evil. He knows what he's doing. That's more like lawful evil, I guess. Get the D&D nerds in the comments. That's how we get engagement. All right. Now that, chaotic neutral. Like, no, Winter. Sorry. I apologize. I definitely... No, it's a fake. SOS. Well, is Scarlett buying what he's selling? 1 drone. That's the respect you get. Not all the drones. Feels so obvious that it's clearly a bluff. But Scarlett brings a couple more. I think the probe saw it as well. That's important. All right, like seeing that you drew out a couple more drones. Just whatever you could do. Tactics like this to pull the wool over your eyes or keep you looking one way while you get shivved with the other. SOS has been a master of deception in the past. I really think the reason he doesn't find quite as much success lately is partially people have just gotten too good. And the game is honestly figured out. To the point that even I could say maybe a little too figured out. But the room for these sort of crazy, cheesy strategies like Mass Void, that's not going to work again. But we certainly hope it doesn't work again. Depending on who you are, but I'm just going to build some Void Rays. It feels like Scarlett knew the answer, but couldn't quite put it together by the time SOS actually put together the ground out, like Immortals, Archons, and Charge Lots. Absolute classic. Well, not classic would probably go Carriers, but with Immortals, Archons, and Charge Lots. But I digress. The Joker. That's the one. I was really trying to, because I got the Forrest Gumpian, that it's been rattling around in my head the whole time. And I wish I came up with these beforehand, but we do it live, relatively. Thank you again to Thunderfire All-Stars for putting on this tournament and letting me check out the games and cast live some of it. You've already seen some of those videos. Void Ray again! Where was I? Oh, yes. I had the Forrest Gumpian Protoss for Hero. Give me your movie references for whatever players you think relate to whatever characters. But SOS is the Joker. Okay, some men just want to watch the world burn. And SOS is one of them. Like, sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. But he's got a plan. And even if it doesn't work correctly, he's going to pretend like it was his in the first place. It's much more meaningful than Hero's opportunistic and legitimately incredible adaptability. But it is another strain of Protoss that we don't see as much. Well, again, besides that one guy. I guess, now when it comes to the schools of Protoss, the YOLO toss and the shield toss have always been the historical difference. The shield toss of like stats, Neeb, and Classic is another good example in modern day. And then the YOLO toss of MC, Parting, SOS. Hero is both and neither. That's why he's so special. And, oh, get off my creep! Yeah, you tell him, Brenda. You tell him. We had a bad time last game, didn't we, Lucille? We didn't have to bring it up. We were having a good game so far, and now you just kind of rained on my parade here. What's a parade? Sorry, what, really? A fleet beacon and a second Stargate? So it's not Mass Void Ray. What a time to re-associate. But a fleet, shame. What is this? What do you do? Oh no! Scarlett looking the other way just as the stasis comes in, and yet again, a stasis where it could have a very high impact on the game. Though it may be not the time that Scarlett expects, because the Void Ray denies the scouting, obviously. Without an Overlord nearby, how can you hope to get it? And going for Overlord speed early is just cutting into your own economy to potentially make it harder to counter what you already suspect they're doing. But it's just a carrier rush. Like, it's not... Trying to get all his achievements. All right, I got the Void Ray achievement. We're doing the carrier achievement. Next game, the Mothership Rush achievement. Oh, spoilers. I wouldn't be surprised if a mothership is on the agenda. He doesn't even have a Twilight Council. He's got 2 gates, and they're mostly architectural. Scarlett? Oh, stop listening. Scarlett with Hydralisk. A Hydralisk Den, Baneling, speed on the way. Hydraling Bane is a somewhere between okay and great counter to most Protoss mid-game compositions. And against carriers, it treads a lot more towards the first one. The Void Ray. will try to burn the Overseer, but the Overseer will see absolutely everything. It saw the Twilight timing. It saw the carriers producing. It saw the fleet beacon done, which is kind of redundant when you see the carriers producing, but still. And now Scarlett has some very hard decisions to make. And no matter what, I feel like the YouTube comments are going to say she was wrong. Because there is no right answer here. Either one, you go for the timing attack. And it still very well might be in time. You go for the timing attack with Hydroling Bane, you try to hit before the carrier count reaches a critical mass. The classic, how do you stop 8 carriers? Answer, very condescendingly. Don't let them get 8 carriers. But there are already several carriers along, so the more direct answer is Corruptors. Not Mutas, but Corruptors. To deal with those massive units. And we're not talking about your mother this time. So, now, the flip side of the problem is if you can deal with the air army, it's the ground army that becomes the problem yet again. And you only have so much army supply to work with. So Scarlett, and the only concern is that she had such a struggle in the last game trying to figure out exactly how to partition the army into anti-ground and anti-air. But at least this time, she'll have the tech ready by the time the Protoss army comes together. There's the mothership. Storm on the way. Really, there has been... It's almost no rush 8 minutes so far. A few drones died to Adepts and Oracles. We saw the... Yeah, Scarlett now has another base and a half really mining. 87 to 67 workers with a 4th base already online. The Zergling run by could potentially delay. Spotted the stasis. Needs to delay the 4th base. Desperately needs to. And will do so. Takes out the probe. The carriers, very much. The elephant overhead the room. Mothership will be joining them momentarily. But Storm is completed. So, Scarlett is still going for that very mid-game oriented composition. Not try to tech up to Hive. But is going to hit the timing. And now it just comes down to somewhat puns intended execution. You need to wipe out the carriers and limit the economy. Ideally, you just win the game, but it's almost impossible to just win the game with one attack. Step 1 is you wipe out either their economy or their army. Step 2 is you do the other thing. It's at least a 2-step process. It looks like Scarlett going directly for the 4th base. The Oracle doesn't have energy for Revelation, but it definitely spotted these units moving along. There's one stasis. Again, SOS has the, like, Protoss from Concentrate sort of army. He's got 4 carriers, a Void Ray, a Mothership, and 3 Templar, which is the most Protoss. Category 5 storms. And trying to break through into the natural, but the Zerglings chased down by the Zealots. They turn the tables there, and DJ SOS is holding on to his base for now. But the creep is extending across, allowing Scarlett to reinforce quickly. She's getting a 2nd Spire for upgrades, though concerningly no infestation pit. The Corruptor's looking for an opportunity. Much more of the army will commit to breaking through into the natural. And the Mothership and company making its way back. Probes will mostly escape annihilation. 8 probes there, but the Corruptors on the flank will melt through the 4th Nexus. The Caustic Spray. And that is finally what Scarlett needed. That limits SOS's economy, which is already kind of hamstrung. More Void Rays. Why are you building oh, I guess for the Corruptors, they're pretty good. The Hydras are not enough to deal with this. Time Warp slows things down. The Corruptors don't even have Caustic Spray off cooldown. A couple of them do. It might have a chance here. He lost... No, there's still a Cyber Core. He's not even warping in Stalkers to deal with this. But Scarlett, with more units in the natural... And again, she has the economy. She has to whittle down both the army and the economy, so that way she can eventually take it out. It's a multi-step process, as we see here, but Scarlett, so far, climbing these stairs quickly. Another wave of caustic spray, but the Archon gets underneath to maximize its damage. The Void Rays light up and burning through a Congress of Corruptors here. And SOS, I think, well, has had enough. About the best army supply is gonna get, and is just gonna go across the map. Wait, there's another lair on the way. Was that a misclick? Did she mean a hive? How do you misclick that? Grid hotkeys? Oh no! The infestation pit is done! No hive on the way. I don't know how long it's been done for. It can't be that long. But not having a hive probably would have been relevant in this fight, but in any further ones, again, SOS with the most perfect Protoss army and not a single bit extra. 6 carriers, 4 Archons, 5 Void Rays, a Mothership, and 5 High Templar. The Corruptors trying to snipe. Not finding much. And every swipe at the carriers is going to cost several Corruptors. Scarlett through all the fire and fury, struggling to find an angle, as SOS seems to be acutely aware of all of them. Another dozen Corruptors on the way, but remember, there's still the army on the ground. The Archons must be dealt with. And right now, the ground army is 3 Hydras and 36 Zerglings. The Archons on their own could win this. Which, it feels like it's kind of fallen apart before it's even come together. The storms are incredible. There's a single Overseer trying to get on top of everything. The Mothership will be brought down, but Scarlett's supply is plummeting more quickly. Drones dying on the transfer. And the Void Rays light up and burn the Corruptors out of the sky. SOS yet again. With the just highlight reel of Protoss units. 16 Hydras on the way. But that's going to be too little and too late. Unfortunately, Scarlett yet again gets locked into the mid-game composition and gets effectively rolled by the late-game Protoss. The eternal struggle of how to actually defeat the Golden Armada. And you build too many Corruptors, and the ground army is too much. Too much ground army. And you wish you built Corruptors. Scarlett fighting it out to the bitter end. It does feel like a bitter end indeed. But GG. SOS able to get a tiny bit of revenge. Definitely not the same level as winning the Intel Extreme Masters and the Olympic Championship in 2018. But you know, it's something. Maybe Scarlett just being generous. Now SOS with a well-earned and well-executed victory, bringing us to our anti-spoiler game. Another Legends match. MMA versus DRG. Yes, those are the acronyms you think they are. Well, actually, no, it depends on if you have to start. Anyways, Jimmy, please. Game number 1. In the bottom right corner, one of the most storied players in StarCraft 2 history. And the champion of the 2011 Blizzard Cup, which this is a rematch of. We have, formerly of Team Slayers, it's MMA. And in the top left-hand corner, more recently still a pro player in SC2, though retired for a little while now. And one of the most entertaining and high-speed Zergs throughout most of 15 years. It's Dong Regu. DRG. One of the most epic matches in StarCraft 2 history, at least at the time. The very near the beginning of the Infestor Broodlord era. But MMA, I recommend going to watch it. If you haven't yet. Actually going back, I'm sure you can find it somewhere. But MMA defeating Dong Regu 4-3. Ever so slightly, just barely, in one of the most dramatic matches, right as Wings of Liberty was taken off. And I need to indirectly, I have a personal tie to this match, because this match is somewhat literally, though somewhat indirectly, the reason I'm married today. No, not to either of these players, but my girlfriend at the time in college, I I showed her this match. As, believe it or not, I was pretty enthusiastic about StarCraft. So, I showed her, pretty much unprompted and unprepared, made her sit through at least half of that match. At which point she said something along the lines of, why would anybody watch this? Anyway, she wasn't my girlfriend for much longer. Yada, yada, yada. A year or two later, I met my now wife, who did not say that. And I used the same litmus test. That she's a bigger nerd than I am. So, it works out. But the point being, thank you to these two for having a match so epic. I thought that was going to be a... Let's just put it a mood setter, if you would. MMA versus DRG, for someone who's never watched StarCraft or knew what esports was, besides me mentioning it offhand. You know what? No regrets. Though I'd probably go about it a little differently today. I'd use a different build order, but I'd still use the same strategy. We'll see. It's quite a question. MMA? Well, Terran builds haven't changed much since 2011. We have the Destiny Cloud Fizz build. We got 2 command centers, a barracks, a factory, a starport. Will we get the 3rd command center? The exact build, the numbers have changed because in Legacy of the Void, we start with 12 workers as opposed to 6. So you gotta change a few of the numbers up, but otherwise, the timing and the order in which you get units is almost identical to Wings of Liberty. So, which is why I say when people ask, and usually Terrans, because they're very particular about these things, you know what I'm talking about. But, I mean, there's a spectrum of Terrans, is how I'll put it. I say you could probably look at the guides from 2012. Just change the numbers a bit. Though, more accurately, like anything past 2017 for Terran is still valid. If you're looking at the low APM challenge, which is my bronze to GM guide, but more realistic, where we only go to masters, because, let's be honest with ourselves. If you're threatening grandmasters, you probably don't need my advice anyways. If you're playing it all, well, shout out to you. And this time, it's not a 3cc. MMA seems to clearly have at least been practicing a little bit. The build is very sharp and on point here. He's got his barracks on time. He's setting up. Honestly, I'm not actually sure if there was a direct prize for these matches. I know they paid... Hi! Hi! Unfortunately, Terrans, their usual reaction to social interaction is to pull a gun. Which, seems accurate. Knocks down the Overlord, but DRG not going to be the least bit surprised to realize what he saw there. You're going to do the big add-on switch. And so far, if you covered up the names, this could look like almost any Terran versus Zerg match in current year. DRG. Compared to SOS versus Scarlett, especially, though, which is somewhat amusing because SOS and Scarlett are both active professionals. They're still playing in pro matches today, though not as regular as some players. Both of these two are retired. MMA especially so. So, DRG still occasionally shows up for some online tournaments, but it feels like it's, well, for funsies. Like, the Banshees found an opportunity. The lack of a 3rd command center, though, is really defining the game so far. MMA does need to get a lot of damage done, and it's unclear whether DRG really recognizes that this is just a 2cc build. He's already gotten a 4th hatchery, getting +1 carapace for the roaches. But MMA is going to have a very dangerous tank timing with plenty of Marines scattered in. Lining up +1 combat shield, and this is restricted lair space! Brenda, you've talked way too much today. Who are you to tell me? Somebody needs to. I'm just saying. No, you're saying? I can't say, but you're... Let's pick this up later. I'm tired. Well, that's because you keep injecting. You see, I can do it too. I do it better. Rude. Sorry. Wow. What a day. MMA has just waltzed across the map. DRG, a single Zergling, I believe, spotted the edge of this. And it was pretty clear it was going to be an all-in by the fact there's no third base for so long, but here come the tanks. One gets knocked out by Corrosive Bow, but the front line of Marines is holding for now. Banshee still survives for a few more moments, but getting close enough to knock out the first tank, the second tank, and... well, the Roach Ravager count seems to be far too high. And DRG just smashes this push and wonders why MMA is still in the game. You not... well, in the era of both these players, innovation well known to be the timing attack Terran. And I believe that was an insult. Was it a playful insult? I'll leave you to judge. But MMA has no response, but he's still in the game and he didn't say anything, which feels a little pointed, but DRG is up almost 100 supply, which is a nearly insurmountable gap. But those are roaches, which of all the units to rely on, they are some of the least reliable en masse. It's just quantity has a quality all its own. DRG, after possibly inciting an identity crisis in MMA, will pull back and kind of build the rest. It is... It doesn't look good for the player formerly of Slayer's Boxers team, but he is a Terran. There are mules. He's got medevacs. I can list off the other two units he's building, but gets a couple queens. Third command center is done. So DRG, how do you want to go from here? Gotta get a fifth base. The Overlords just drizzling the map. You know, honestly, I feel like a tiny, absolutely tiny, and completely irrelevant quality of life buff to Zerg would be Overlord's auto-casting creep drop. They require the lair to unleash that beautiful purple rain, if you would. We've had queens. Have we tried print? And almost every Zerg for either doesn't use it because it's kind of niche and you already have creep spread, or it's not going to make much of a difference. That's what I'm saying. Like, of all the things, auto casting. So when the lair finishes, the Overlord spontaneously creep drop. And you can turn it off, of course, if you'd like, for some reason or another. But that's what I would like to see. That is my suggestion for the tiniest buff Zerg could possibly get, while still technically being listed as a buff. So when people are counting, like, Zerg got 3 buffs, and Terran got 3 buffs, and it's like, Marines now have +2 range, and Zerg drops creep automatically from Overlords at Lair Tech. When we're listing like that. Anyways, an Ultralisk Cavern is on the way, and DRG has allowed MMA to survive. And I'm going to phrase it like that. Though the wall is non-existent, MMA still doing his best impression of innovation. That one Liberator in the main, finding a lot of success, but a wave of Ravagers will knock out the closest siege tank. The SCVs being slaughtered. Almost, well, every single SCV in the natural is taken down. Though the tank push is still dangerous. He denies +2 Carapace. And DRG, if you play with your food for too long, it might eventually get up off the plate and fight back. The army supply is still heavily in favor of the Zerg, but he just lost his upgrades. He still has so many Banelings. MMA has no economy. The Ravagers are getting caught up on the corner, but the siege tanks are slowly getting whittled down. The Zerglings running back home. And The numbers just aren't there. DRG very sportingly let him have a chance to drag himself back into it. But as MMA comes back up, DRG chops him down. Soon to be literally, with the ultras on the way. MMA still not giving it up quite yet. Down 100 supply again, but he's been here before. And, well, it didn't go great, but he's... Anyways, 3 ultras in production. MMA is nearly mined out of his main, but not as natural because he's lost so many SCVs, which is, I guess, a blessing in disguise, or that's how we're going to market it. A couple Vipers. Decoy man. He lost so many ground units, but he still had the medevacs, so decoy medevacs. A cute move to try to drag the Zerg army out of position, but... I don't know, Kev. DRG with another wave of banelings. He's got some ultras. Chitinous plating's nearly done. And I don't think he's obligated to wait. MMA has survived, but DRG now attacking in for what should be the last time. That is way too much. MMA gonna go for it. He's got one more army. He has one more SCV than he started with. I love your gumption, son, but you're in way over your head. Blinding Cloud, Parasitic Bomb, Ultras, and Banelings, and Ravagers, oh my. The split on the... I just want to point this out. I'm going to take this moment to make fun of... So, I want to point out, on the StarCraft 2, not the StarCraft, on the StarCraft 2 subreddit, someone was convinced that the Liberator, somebody was using some sort of cheat or hack, because the Liberator spread from Parasitic Bomb after he cast it. And it was the most upvoted thing in like a week or more. That's just how units work, bro. It's not a hack. Units will auto... Watch this. This is just for those who don't know. Units, when uncontrolled, will go directly away from a source of damage, which is what pro players a lot of the time use to maybe nudge units to get another hit. But if you watch right here, as MMA relinquishes control of his units momentarily after he picks up and he's no longer healing, they split near perfectly because they're like, get away from me. Anyway, so that's just basic units and how they work, and stop thinking that people are cheating when you don't understand the game. Anyways, like and subscribe if you'd like me to call out more noobs, because people are actually playing the... You know what? Shout out to them for playing the game. All right? Just like MMA for about 5 minutes too long, but we're going to game number 2 on Winter Madness. It'll all be decided here. Or it won't, depending on if MMA can pull off, like, an early timing yet again. But I think DRG knows what's up. And, well, I am already surprised that we don't see any SCVs headed across the map. But not disappointed. And honestly, MMA is still looking strong. You don't really lose the basic mechanics, I don't think. Like, I seriously doubt MMA has gone 10 years without playing. And also, I think many pros, it would be a point of pride. Even if there's not a huge prize or extra prize for winning, which I think is the case in these matches. But I think it's a point of pride not to at least look too embarrassing. Of course, if you drag Mike Tyson out of retirement and have him face a much younger or current sort of player, even if they're not maybe the highest level, it's going to look kind of odd. But on the bright side, both these players in that same boat. Be weird if we did that, right? I mean, there's still some people playing Brood War in this day and age. Some of the pros at the top level, some of the people who commentate pros as well. Despite, at this point, having children who probably are at the age that they could become a pro player in Brood War and succeed because those wrists are fresh and no longer and can play 500 APM for as long as it takes. Though maybe shouldn't pick Terran because that's just not good for your mental or physical health. We all know that. Like, StarCraft 1 or 2, Winter? Reaper. Headed across the map. Oh, there we go. There's our 2 more Rex. This is a Maru build. Maru. So, fun fact. Maru also, at the same time. Maru started playing in 2010, I believe. As did MMA. I mean... You gonna say something, DRG? Maybe you feel... well, that was... Not... Okay, well, that was not the best usage of the first Reaper. I can say that quite decisively. Not the ideal... He's just gonna go 4 racks. Wow. We're just gonna skip to the point. The point being, as many Marines as possible. Marauders, maybe. I don't think so, actually. Marines, combat shield, and stimming across the map. Maybe even pulling the boys to help out. As this is not the kind of build that ages well. But you try to keep them from aging at all. Stim, combat shield. I'm used to saying +1 afterwards, but this is all coming together so quickly. 4 Marines trying to sell that the idea this isn't 4 Rex Marine. Looking for the Overlord, but the pervert... Is that a pervert pillar? I guess there is. I never actually realized that. DRG found it. I haven't seen other players using that location. It is kind of an odd spot. But the Overlord... Bunch of roaches on the way, but... The Zergling got in and saw the Marines come out, so... That kind of undercuts the element of surprise here. Yeah, MMA. He's sending the boys across as well. And making sure to chat him up before, and maybe gonna try to catch him right as he's typing, which is also a classic tactic. Though widely considered to be a dick move in most cultures. The Queen's holding. And, well, the SCVs help out a lot. There's no splash damage. The Spine Crow's a little out of position. So, the Marines actually get behind the mineral line, and this is finding some success. Another stim. 8 SCVs dead, but they were on the front lines, and that was intentionally so. Down goes the Spine Crawler. The Zerglings are trickling out. The Queens will be taken down. And 9 roaches are about to pop out, which should be enough to eventually hold this. And despite the gains... Remember, MMA only has 25 workers back at home. Oh my, another stim. Not even all the Marines can stim. What a disaster. Marines dying very dramatically. And now MMA is going to fill in with the typical Terran follow-up, which is Extreme Greed. Double Engineering Bay and a 3rd command center in production. The Marines waiting on the high ground. DRG, it's hard to gauge in this situation. So that did a lot of damage. He killed 9 drones. He forced out a huge swell of units. DRG actually only a few workers ahead, so he's by no means in a winning position. And if he overcommits to an attack, he very well could be in a losing one. And with the Roach Warren going down, he can't even build Ravagers with the Roaches he has. So, DRG trying to figure out, did he see the third with the Zerglings? No, not yet. We'll see if he does it all. Eventually, maybe, but the factory starting at 6 minutes and 45 seconds, which is obscenely late in most context. There's nothing even resembling a wall, just the suggestion with a single orbital command. And there shouldn't be enough Marines here to defend. The SCVs are pulled. He micros back. The main army is coming back, but he knows that's bait. The Zerglings will turn around, but anything that delays this push will definitely help DRG defend. And again, 35 drones. Adding just a few more in, but gonna try to hold the high ground. There is a scan. He spots the roaches. There's no roach speed, obviously. He doesn't even have a lair. Gonna dance around the edge of the creep. No stims. But if he's off the creep, the concussive shells can help out a lot. He stims and catches him in the valley, caught between a rock and a hard place. The Zerglings trying to zone out, but the Marines and Marauders will battle their way out of the surround. And DRG, again, in a bit of an awkward spot. MMA taking the initiative, and the biomass must be respected. The ball just rolling around, and Roaches, Ravagers, and Lynx. DRG's going all in. He feels like he can't actually macro this out. Now that MMA has a third, that might actually be correct. 1-1 is now completed. 2 upgrade advantage for the bio. But, oh no. This is exactly the wrong moment to split off. The bio is already pre-spread here. But if he doesn't have it all together, DRG has more than enough army supply. Alright. Well, just staying calm and collected. A few Zerglings get into the natural because it's just wide open. Meanwhile, the Ravagers, but the Zerglings streaming through and eating some of the corrosive biles, which has to be uncomfortable. Trying to micro against the Ravagers. The upgrades help you out a lot, but the lack of metavacs is counteracting it significantly. The metavacs are nearly completed. MMA loses a huge chunk of his army and 10 SCVs, most of them at the natural, but still maintains a worker lead. He just has to survive. It's tilted all the way into the Terran favor here. If he just lives through another wave. The boys may... No, he lifted up into the medevac. That's a mistake, actually. A few more seconds. The boys are pulled off the line. Oh, no, the corrosive bile! And... in a similar scenario with... Just had to keep it together, but the Zerg will rip him apart. DRG knew what advantages he had and what he hadn't. MMA unable to withstand. The timings were good, but a paper tiger behind it. DRG in a not too surprising, but a little disappointing 2-0. SOS with a topsy-turvy 2-0 against Scarlett, but our legends still stand strong, both in our minds and hopefully when you consider liking and subscribing. Thank you again to the Thunderfire All-Stars for all the incredible tournament matches and the Legends matches as well. And thank you for watching. I hope I made your day just a little bit better. And if you got the means of motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So thank you to our military patrons, Big Jiggy, Devin, Dor, Kate, Mario, Soup. Glad you still enjoy. And make sure to check out this video Jimmy picked out for you. Good luck, have fun. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Stay chill.